Hi, Sam. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Summer. It's good to be here.
It's so lovely to see you. I'm so happy you took the time to be here today. Why don't you start by telling everyone just a little bit about who you are?
Okay. My name is Samantha Smith, and I'm 53 this year. I have a background in psychology, and I am currently an intuitive eating counselor and a eating disorder educator.
Amazing.
How
Fantastic.
I bill myself.
That's great. I love it. I love it. And so tell me a little bit about, what your frustrations were with your body before we started working together.
Well, I mean, I had previously done a lot of work on myself already. And that was just from years battling eating disorder. And then my son going through one as well. He was hospitalized.
Mm,
And while he was going through that process, I realized that I was still glossing over stuff and that I needed some extra help. Um, and I thought, okay, well, I've been following Summer for a while. I feel comfortable with the way she presents things. So maybe this would be a good opportunity for me to just delve a little deeper and start wiggling those last little bits free, right? Getting
mm.
them up to the light. And so that's what I did. And it was probably one of the best things I've done for myself in a long time. Um, yeah, it felt good. It felt right.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. When you say like you wanted to sort of, I can't remember exactly how you did, I'll try to paraphrase, but sort of deal with those last little bits. Like, can you articulate what some of those were out of curiosity, if you can recall? I know it was a while ago.
No, I can definitely do that. Well, it kind of brings up um, some of your modules. So I guess external validation is one of them.
Hmm.
It's still being kind of held in the trap of external validation and not realizing it until, it was kind of hitting me in the face. So I'd have those moments of being okay, but then something would trigger it, and I would be right back there trying to, seek out some sort of validation for how I looked or, you know, whether it was from family or friends or whatever it was. And that really, I think for me, those are the hardest ones to uproot, right? Because it's so based in who you are as a person and your value system. And it really starts to, if you haven't started to dismantle that stuff, it can be very hard to sort of face. And so I thought, okay, yep, I still need to do a little bit of work around that.
I appreciate you detailing that a little bit further. I feel like so many people can relate to that struggle. Like
Yeah,
it really goes hand in hand with the body image stuff and our desire to diet. I think our desire to diet is often really like this desire to belong, this desire for validation. And so if we don't sort of get to the core of that, like you said, even though if we've done some of the other work, it can still linger and be there.
right.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I know I always ask like was something that happened that made you want to change? And I know you mentioned your son being hospitalized.
Right.
Was there anything else that made you wanna change and do this work?
Um, I've noticed as I've gotten older, that there are, as you get older, as women get older, we tend to become more invisible. And I was finding that the old habits were creeping back.
Mm,
And I know we just talked about external validation, but as as older women or as we get older and we lose that external validation of being young, young, beautiful, thin, all of those things that we sort of took for granted that aren't there anymore. And I was kind of, I could feel that, the old ED voice coming back in, going, well, you could just go on a little sneaky diet. Nobody has to know. Or, There's always, you could go visit your friendly neighborhood Botox injector.
Mm,
Um, and I don't like that voice. And I knew that it I needed, again, I needed a refresher. I needed some more help dealing with it and coming to, sort of peace within myself.
mm,
Um, to be able to move forward. I had a son who was very ill, and I thought, I don't need to be modeling things that put him into the place where he is.
mhm,
And so, there was a bunch of things happening at that point. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if um, a lot of the women who come to you are older or are hitting that age, right? Or getting into sort of, whether it's, in their kind of late 30s, early 40s, somewhere around there, where we do start to become a little bit invisible, right?
mhm,
Where, we're not seen, where our opinions don't matter anymore because we don't have what we've been told that youth and backing give us, right? Like youth and beauty give us some sort of fabricated way to be heard.
yeah,
And and I didn't want to feel that way. I
mhm,
don't like feeling that way. I like the fact that I'm 53. It's taken me a while to get there. It's taken me a while to be okay with my age and the fact that I don't have to be, I don't have to try and make myself look like a model on the front of a magazine.
mhm,
That what I say actually has weight through my own experience, through my own education, um, through all of the things that I've been through in my life. My voice matters, right? So,
absolutely.
did I totally go off topic there? I'm sorry.
No, I loved it because I did a survey of my audience over the summer and it was like 75% of the people were over 40. And I mean that's pretty typical in terms of like who's
Right.
in You on Fire. Although we do get some people that are, maybe a little bit younger in their 30s and stuff. But and I think it's like to your point, like you have this dynamic of you have the intersection of ageism coming into play, and it kind of
Yeah.
creates this period where you're just like, what is happening? And if you've been struggling with this, then you have this extra layer that comes in. It can just kind of it's more confronting, and you kind of
Definitely.
realize you're like I can't like escape this now. Like, like like my body is changing and there's nothing, like I have to either, make some decisions to really make peace with this. And there's also, I think, this period of time that happens where you're sort of like, I'm too old for this shit. Like I, you know, like it is like I have spent decades doing this. I don't want to feel this way anymore. So yeah, so I know I appreciate you sharing your personal experience with that. That's my um because I kind of witness it on the other side. I'm
Right.
also like on the flip side of 40 now, it's um it just echoes everything that I have sort of heard from other people in the program as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I observe. So with that, like in the program, what were some of the things that like the elements of the program or the stepping stones that really helped you along the way?
Um, I think it was, for me, it was going through the modules. And even though some of it was stuff I've already done in different ways, obviously, but the same sort of flavor,
Mm-hmm.
is that rather than glossing over the things that I thought I knew or that I thought I had gotten past, I said, no, we're going to sit with this and we're going to see what comes up. Because I know that about myself. I know that enough about, I've done enough therapy to know that when I start glossing over things, it's usually because there's something there that I don't want to look at, right?
Yes.
And so I went, no, if you know what, if you're going to do this, you're going to do this, right? You're going to do it.
Yes.
You're going to go in there with beginner's mind and go, okay, let's do this. And so that's what I did. And I was I was surprised. was surprised at how much I kind of went, "Meh, I can get away with that still, right? I can get away with that kind of thinking still. As long as it's not hurting anybody, it's fine. I can get away with that." And the only person you end up hurting is yourself, obviously. But I really, again, I'm going to bring up the external validation because module 5 really did it for me. And I
Mm,
went, that's it. It is for me. And it has always been because I learned it from, my mother and her mother and all of the women around me, that if you weren't consistently being validated for the way you looked, there was no room for you,
mm,
right? And even though the women that I grew up with still were very generous women and loving women, they were also very confined in how they looked and how they appeared. And, my mother's term, thin and lovely, still gives me a little bit of a twinge,
oh
right?
yeah.
I can hear her say it, "Oh, you're so thin and lovely." And so part of it for me was getting the external validation from her. If I wasn't
Hmm.
thin, then she wouldn't think highly of me, even though I know that my mother doesn't think that way, right? She loves me and she supports me and she's a wonderful woman. But that term that she used really just kind of sunk it in. So external validation, definitely. And I do believe that, ageism and our health and wellness culture and diet culture are all intertwined so deeply that it's very hard to let go of wanting external validation in our society. And, I am much better now after doing your program and really sort of powering down on, not necessarily beating myself up, but going when it comes up again, because it does always come up. I don't think it's something that we ever fully get rid of or that we can ever fully get rid of. But rather than beating myself up, I'm now a little more curious. Oh, look, there it is. What's
Hmm.
happening? Am I particularly stressed out right now? Right? Is there something going on in my life that's making me feel really uncomfortable and insecure?
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
I don't need to control it, but I do have to realize how it's affecting me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm so glad that was impactful for you.
Yeah.
So were there
Really good.
any like highlight moments for you or any like changes that you noticed that you felt were impactful?
Um, I have to say that after doing your program, I have become easier. I don't want to say more easier because it sounds horrible, but um, easier in my body again. I mean, going through an eating disorder really kind of when you get to recovery, and I'm putting recovery in quotation marks,
Hmm.
um, you still, we're all human. You still have voices sometimes, but now you know how to come at them, right? So you're not listening to them specifically, but you are going, oh, there it is, right? So it's the curiosity factor again. Oh, what's going on in my life? What am I stressing out about? What am I not doing for myself? Um, and I found that I care less. That's real. And it sounds a horrible thing to say, but I do care less. I care less about how people view me. I care less about, making sure my makeup is perfect or my hair is done. I know when I emailed you, I was talking about brushing my hair. Um, but I really don't care as much anymore about those things. And it is all wrapped up in external validation, but I do care less about those specific things.
Amazing. I love
Yeah.
it. And so how
Yeah.
does that feel for you? Like what's it like for you to be in this place where you're not so burdened by wanting validation?
Freeing. freeing. Um, I I love the freedom of going, okay, well, I don't, it's not even thinking about putting on makeup. It's just walking out the door, right? It's walking out the door. It's maybe throwing a hat on my head or, because my hair is a bit wavy and crazy. Um, or not even caring about that and going, it's just my hair,
Hmm.
right? It's not worrying about whether or not I'm feeling particularly, if I had chili the night before and I'm bloated, or, worrying about my comfortable grandmother's stomach, as I call it now, because I have a grandchild and she likes to cuddle. Um, it's worrying less about how I look in pictures.
Hmm.
That was a big one, and one I had held on to for a long time. It's just caring less and enjoying my life more. And it's a really sad thing to have to say that it took me this long to get to that point.
Mm.
But going forward, I don't have to worry about it as much anymore. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I know that I still run into those moments where, I'm feeling a little less than,
Hmm.
but it's, through the work I've done with your program and through other work that I've done, I know that I have the tools in my toolbox to be able to counter it compassionately.
Hmm. Amazing. Beautiful. And so, what's one piece of advice that you have to people listening today?
Oh my God, just keep doing it. Just keep working the program. Um, just keep working the program. Keep do it because you're doing it for yourself,
Hmm.
right? It's probably one of the most important things that you will ever do for yourself is to give yourself the gift of this program and working with you.
Oh, that's so very kind of you. I appreciate you saying that. Um, it's been such a pleasure. It's like so meaningful to me to hear about the impact that it's had on you because I know it's been a while, right? Like I'm trying to remember when it's been like a
About a year and a
year.
half, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, so it's
yeah.
been a while since we connected. So it's like it's
Right.
really yeah, it's really special to me to just be able to catch up with you and hear about the impact that it made because sometimes I just don't quite know, right? And to hear a little bit more about, just how that's working for you now, like a year and a half later, because I think that's the thing. It's just the way I see it is like the program really plants the seeds and then you just keep watering them and then, you just
That's
keep
it.
flourishing. So um it's not like a diet where you do something and then you regret it and feel like
Exactly.
terrible after. It's like
What
this puts you on
I
the
tell
upward trajectory.
I know it's what I tell all the people that I work with. It's just I'm just here to plant seeds and
Yeah.
to, give you a little guidance, but you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that so much. And I appreciate you sharing your story. Is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap things up today?
I don't think so. I'm just so grateful for finding you when I did and having the, having the means and the ability to do it. I think it's fantastic. And if you're doing the program and you're listening to this, or if you're thinking about doing the program and you're listening to this, just do it. That's all.
Oh, thank you so much, Sam. That's so kind of you. And like I know you're helping other people in a similar way. And so it's just amazing that you're out there as well doing that. And I will link to that in the show notes too if you have like a website that you want to share or anything like that. Do you have a website that you want to share that you want?
Um, I I am in the process of revamping the website.
Okay,
But I will send you the link when I'm ready to do it. The majority of the work I do is with parents, and spouses and partners of people who have eating disorders.
beautiful.
Um, because it is a much neglected niche, and they need a lot of support. So this is
Amazing.
Yeah. And I'm quite happy to do the work. I am quite happy to do the work.
I love it. Oh,
But
thank you for sharing that. I'm glad I asked because I feel like it's
yeah,
like that's such an important resource, and I'll include it when you have it, and otherwise
okay.
people can look you up as well.
I
Thank you so
appreciate
much
that.
for thank you so much for being here, Sam.
Thank you, Summer.
Rock on.
You too.